Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Well, propaganda, full swing, while we repeat the past. Unbelievable what the destruction that the Liberal Party is still doing after 10 years. It's the same Liberal Party, people. And well, we're just going to kind of prove it. And I'm going to just do what I normally do. Bust propaganda, expose the truth. Sorry, just the truth, just the facts, and lay a little bit of reality down. And hopefully you guys are all entertained, you're all informed, and you like, share, and subscribe to get it out to other people who have, well, the stranglehold of propaganda controlling all of their emotions instead of actually being able to make educated choices and decisions, especially with a possible election looming. Let's get on to propaganda. And you're gonna have to, it's got Scott Reed on there. This guy's intolerable. Not only is he like one of the dumbest people that's on propaganda, the guy's just a complete buffoon. There is zero neutrality in him. He doesn't even have the brain cells to question anything with any type of moral integrity. He doesn't care. All he cares about is socialist liberals. This party, to him, since Trudeau has taken it over, is the creme of the creme. And now that Carney's in power, he's even more in love with it than ever, because he knows he would be out of a job if it wasn't for the socialists paying for him to go on TV and lie to your faces. Let's get started. Propaganda.
The U.S. ambassador to Canada reportedly lashed out in a big way at Ontario's trade representative at an event in Ottawa Monday. Sources tell CTV News there was an unpleasant exchange between Pete Hoekstra and Ontario's Washington trade rep David Patterson. The sources say the U.S. ambassador hurled insults and swore over Ontario's anti-tariff ad. Patterson was said to be calm during the tirade. Last week, President Trump abruptly ended trade talks with Canada over the commercial and then imposed that 10% tariff on Canada. With me now is CTV's political commentator, Scott Reed. Scott, good morning to you. So, Canada-U.S. relations appear to be at a real low point. What do you make of these reports of Pete Hoekstra using expletives at David Patterson at a public event?
No, it's to be expected. It's actually in keeping with Ambassador Hoekstra's pattern since he took over the office as chief diplomat to Canada. I mean, he's been overtly insulting time and time again. And that shouldn't surprise any of us either, because Donald Trump doesn't appoint diplomats in the traditional sense of saying, I want an envoy that can smooth relations, that can work with folks, that can build up a bunch of relationships and back. He doesn't want any of that. He wants someone who will yell and stamp their feet in the same way that he does. So it's important for Ambassador Hoekstra to be seen as swearing and cursing and losing his temper, because he wants the president of the United States, his boss, to see that that's how he's conducting himself, because that's what it takes to get approval from the boss in this upside down, backwards world in which we live, now led by Donald Trump. So I'm disappointed. I think it's despairing in many ways, but it shouldn't surprise any of us. This is how the Trump White House administration, this is how Trump world works.
Oh, have I got a show for you today, people? What I'm going to show you. Oh my God. Stay tuned. Let's just finish off with this propaganda. I'm actually having a hard time not laughing, falling out of the chair. It's the propaganda. These people, they lie so bad. So bad. Oh, let's just continue with this nonsense.
Meantime, we have seen our Prime Minister remain cool throughout all of this. He told reporters that he had a good conversation with Trump while they were at that dinner. What do you make of that?
Well, what else is he supposed to do? He's got to kind of carry on and just, manage his way through this. A couple of things. First of all, I think the script has been flipped for Carney. I think he thought prior to this explosion over the Ontario ad that he would probably end up cementing some kind of side deal on energy and aluminum, steel with the President of the United States. That would be the centerpiece of this trip, even as he then looks and works to expand relations with Asian countries and other partners. Well, now that's the centerpiece of it. That is unavailable to him. And he's got something of a repair job with the White House. I think it's also clarifying, though, in the sense that it's a reminder that Trump is the villain in this movie, and there's no dealing with him. You can't speak truth to him because, of course, that's offensive if it is contradictory to his worldview. And, you can't really rely on his word. If he's going to have a temper tantrum over something as silly as this ad, what is the good of and what is the virtue of an agreement with him? So in some ways it's clarifying. Focus on what else you can do. We're going to have no choice, thanks to Donald Trump, but to reach out and to try to strengthen ties with China. That's a consequence of Trump's foreign policy. He's driving allies into the arms of China. And we'll have to see where else we can knit those relationships with the likes of Korea, Malaysia, and others. So, I mean, that's the card. That's the set of cards that the Prime Minister is now left to play.
Do you think that talks with the U.S. will be back on track soon?
I don't know what soon means. At some point, I think, relations will start to restore. The Prime Minister, the President of the United States, he's an infant. He's an enfant terrible. He has a little temper tantrum. He tosses his rattle at someone and then he forgets about it a little while later. So I think that he's put us, so to speak, in the penalty box. But we'll get out. I don't know if it's a 2-minute minor or a 4-minute major, but we'll get out of that penalty box. The question we have to ask ourselves is, how much do we really want at this point to try to strike a deal with Donald Trump? What would that deal look like? Would that actually be in our future interest? Or strategically, is it better for us to let the dust settle on other deals as Trump frantically scrambles to try to repair his relationship with China, which is now genuinely threatening the U.S. economy? Do we wait and see how all that settles out and then see if there's a better deal to be had?
Scott Reed for us this morning. Scott, thank you.
Full of lies. Okay, so we're going to move on to the Doug Ford thing right after I just expose this complete lie about how supposedly Carney met with Trump and they had a really good conversation. There is a lot of organizations all over the world. I'm not going to play you the Korean ones because I can't really make them out, although they state the same thing. Canada is ran by children. And Trump, as well as some other countries, are snubbing Canada. Now, you can see it all. I'll host a couple of these on here. And you can watch. Carney's trying, kind of take you back a little wee bit, which I'm going to show you, to the Trudeau days. Do you remember when everybody was ignoring him? Yeah. Well, you can see Carney's trying really hard here to, kiss butt and seem important. He's the outcast, people. This is Canada. Yes, this is Canada. And then Trump walks in the room.
About my hair. Your hair is beautiful. I thought so. He said that Canada was.
They're all laughing, talking with Trump. Where's Carney? They all left him. He's standing alone. Does this remind you of something, people? Does
A lot of different things. We had a great.
Do you remember how Canada was treated
An honor.
after, Trudeau completely destroyed our reputation?
We should
And the
smile.
media refused to
We
show
had a
it to
great
you?
time. But I've been doing this for 5
Well,
days.
they didn't have independent
So
media
it's a good
back
job.
then
Is
like
everybody
we do
happy?
today. So make sure you like, share, and
Have a good
subscribe.
time?
and make sure that this footage gets out there, because propaganda, they are trying their hardest to not show you Trudeau 2.0. Where's Carney? He's standing way over to the right, all alone, all by himself. He's gonna wiggle his way in. Yeah, there he is. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Trump avoided him like the plague. Trump avoided him like he did Trudeau. Yeah, shaking hands. Where's Carney? So it was cordial. He had a good conversation at the supper. Did he really? Where's Carney? Everybody's avoiding Carney. They're talking amongst each other. There he is, sitting at the table. That's the conversation right there. He got a wave. See how he tried really hard? Do you remember? Just like Trudeau. Identical to Trudeau. This is all recorded. There's no conversation.
Can you believe it? We're gonna have.
He's the outcast.
We have a big.
He might as well be sitting at the kiddie table.
That was a great meeting. They're all great. This was a great meeting. We had fantastic. We had a fantastic meeting.
He was just saying that was the highlight of the whole.
You know, I was there many years ago. I never forget.
Okay.
It's all there. There's no conversation, people.
And then opportunity, your great injustice,
Nothing.
charity.
It's all over the world. Everybody's talking about it. Trump and Carney awkwardly ignored each other. President Trump meets Carney at APEC leaders dinner. This is propaganda. But when you actually watch the footage, it's the exact same thing. There is no meeting. This is what they're trying to show you to make it seem as though it is cordial. That's it. That's it. That's all Canada got. So what's this? Like, hello? Now, let's not forget.
All right, thank you. Mr. President, welcome to Canada. It's a great honor. Happy birthday. A few days short.
A little bit.
A few days short, but didn't have a chance to see you on the day. Happy birthday to the U.S. military as well, 250th, and this is the 50th birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks the 50th birthday of the G7, and the G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership, and your personal leadership of the United States, many issues. Geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States.
Look how impressed he
Canada
is.
and the United
This
States.
was at the G7 here in
and
Canada.
the other G7 partners with your leadership. Very much looking forward to the meeting. And grateful to have you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it, and we've developed a very good relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. And we have a whole group of people, some traders and some other people. I see my top economy people. But we have a very talented group of people, and you do too, and I know they work together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8. Barack Obama and a person named Trudeau didn't want to have Russia in, and I would say that was a mistake, because I think you wouldn't have a war right now if you had Russia in, and you wouldn't have a war right now if Trump were president.
Shall we go back in time a little wee bit further?
I was very surprised because we actually were getting ready to sign a document.
Now, I'm playing a little bit more of this clip because he points out propaganda, which is crucial to why I started this channel. To break free of the lies. Listen carefully to what he has to say, because this is going to take you back, and hopefully you all remember this, because this is where he did the same thing that, well, is happening to Canada right now. He slapped heavier tariffs on us. He ignored us. And other countries started taking big steps back. Because, well, Canada is a laughingstock now because of the socialist regime that is in power. The same Liberal Party.
Made them make various changes. And you know the so-called semi-famous picture of...
I've seen the picture.
Right. She was looking at me. You know what we were doing? We were talking while we were waiting for the final copy of the document. That was such an innocent picture. You know, we put out that picture. That was put out by my people. That was really a picture of me sitting this way, and I'm waiting for the document so we can final read it. What happened is we had a final document. I wasn't 100%, but I wanted to leave nicely. So we had a document. I get into Air Force One. The television's on, and I see a news conference being given by the Prime Minister of Canada and Justin. And I said, oh, that's nice, Justin's giving. And then he talked about how they won't be bullied, and I said, what's this all about? He didn't do that to my face. What's this all about? But here's what the story is. We have been taken advantage of as a country for decades by friends and enemies both. Our trade is a disaster, our trade deals. We lose $817 billion was the last count on a yearly basis. Think of it, George. In other words, when you add China and all of the other places, Germany, the European Union is a disaster for us. We lost $151 billion last year. Billion, not million. We lost $151 billion. They don't take our product. They won't take our agriculture. We lost 151. Now, they were at the meeting, the European Union. I can't be thrilled. I let them know. And I said, fellas, we got to change it. And if you don't change it, we're not going to do trading.
Fine.
I just do want to say, though, that picture was really supposed to be a friendly picture. That was put out by us. And we were waiting for the document to come back so we could read it. I left. Everybody was happy. Everybody shook. You should ask Prime Minister Abiy. Everybody was happy. And then he gave out a little bit of an obnoxious thing. I actually like Justin. You know, I think he's good. I like him. But he shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. That's going to cost him a lot of money.
Well, funny, isn't it? I like Carney. Yeah. I'm going to hit you with 10% more tariffs because you guys are all schmucks. You're backstabbers, you're two-faced. This is how the state sees us. And propaganda is only going to pick and choose certain people who are completely oblivious to the reality and sit back and watch nothing but propaganda and actually believe some of the crap that they're spewing. Canada is a laughingstock. Here we are once again. It's the same thing. It's literally, we are repeating the exact same thing because some Canadians cannot admit fault. You need to recognize when you make a mistake. That's how you learn. If you refuse to recognize it, you're going to suffer the same consequences. That is the reality of it. I mean, Einstein wasn't wrong when he said insanity is repeating the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It's the same Liberal Party. Nothing's changed. Now, I'm going to break down how Trump literally is Reagan. It's all there from like mid-80s to late 80s. Tariffs, the steel industry, automotive. It's just back then, it wasn't near as bad as it is today. So Trump is having to he's having to come forward with a much firmer hand in order to stop what's going on. This is Reagan policies. But first, let's go to Dougie, the man responsible for 10% more tariffs on us. And let's not forget, Carney knew about it. And we're going to prove it again, just to solidify it even more. Listen carefully to fools.
My second question is the Globe and Mail has a piece that speaks about Ambassador Hoekstra, to use a blunt phrase, cursing out your Ontario representative in the United States at a meeting. What do you say to that? This was related to your advertisement related to Donald Reagan.
Yeah.
What's your response to Ambassador Hoekstra's words?
Come on, Ambassador. He's a guy. You know something? I like him. Pete, you got to call Dave up and apologize. It's simple. You know, the cheese slipped off the cracker. I get it. You're ticked off. But call the guy up because you're a good guy, and Dave's my champion. The guy is just instrumental in these trade deals down in Washington. And, you know, something, people get hot. They get heated. I get heated sometimes. But just call the guy up and bury the hatchet because the ambassador's a good guy, actually. I love Dave. I like the ambassador, so he knows what to do. Come on, Pete, you've been around for before Moses. Call the guy up and apologize. Let's start getting back on track. Simple as that.
Canada has to wake up.
And we have some breaking news from GM. Our man Phil LeBeau is going to try to fix it for us on the Squawk Newsline for details. What do you got, Phil?
Hey, Joe, we have General Motors taking charges totaling $1.6 billion for the third quarter related to reduction in what they expect to be EV capacity, as well as unwinding some EV product-related contracts. So as a result, they're going to take $1.2 billion in one charge as an adjustment to EV capacity, another $400 million in contract cancellations. So as you take a look at these charges, that's 1.2 plus 400 million, 1.6 billion. These charges and other non-cash impairments and other charges, that's adjusted for the third quarter as the company dials back what it expects to do when it comes to EVs. And they also say in this announcement that they will expect future charges in future quarters as they continue to adjust to the fact that the EV market is just not what it once was expected to be, and as a result, they're going to be dialing back their capacity.
So, remember we just had Farley on, or was that last week, Jim? And we actually asked him about this because the word was already out about GM that they had quietly pulled back, and I don't remember exactly. You probably do. By 2030, they were going to be at some crazy number. They said, and then they totally abandoned that number and came up.
They've abandoned that for some time. They've abandoned that for some time. And Mary Barr, when you talk with her, will tell you that she will be cautious now to put out a specific percentage of vehicles that they expect to be electric by 2030. Where at one time, Joe, and I don't know the specific,
it was like
percentage,
50 or something.
It was expected to be, something like half of their vehicle
Yeah,
sales,
it's like 50,
and then growing to 100% by 2038, 2040, sometime in that was
Right.
the original plan. But yes, she would, if you were to pin her down right now and say, what do you expect by 2030? She'll clearly say that the market is not going to be what they once thought it was going to be, but I also think that she will not give a percentage. At least to my knowledge, she hasn't done one recently.
Because Farley said, when we asked him, he said, yeah, I would have never done that. Basically, he said, I'd never try to give a...
I think that's the whole industry, Joe. I think you have a lot of automakers who they got out there saying back in 2020, 2021, we're making these investments. We want to be all electric by 2035. We expect that our portfolio can be 100% electric by 2040. You don't see that anymore. There's nobody.
It wasn't in a vacuum, though, Phil. There's a Biden administration, and there are a lot of ESG groups and all kinds of stuff. Pressure.
You are correct. They felt the pressure to make those investments. They felt that this was the pivot that was going to take place.
What did Canada do? This is socialist elitists. This is the global cabal. They were trying to force these companies to go electric, even though these companies knew it was impossible. They knew the damage it was going to do to all of the people, the poverty, let alone the impossibility to even have the infrastructure. It is impossible to have all electric. They were forced to do so by government legislation put out and controlled by the global cabal, the green cabal. They knew this. Now they're the ones, and all of their shareholders and those that own the stocks, who are suffering the consequences of it. Trump is trying to counter the damage by giving them the position, the place, and the power. The power. Electricity through natural gas, affordable energy to stay alive and actually stop this global carnage that they're trying to put us under. I pointed this out months ago with, well, Dougie and the stupidity of voting for the Liberals once again. Doug and the Liberal Party are all in on this because it's all one big investment for all of their corporate sponsors, the Laurentian elite, all of their buddies, and the global cabal. Carney's making money hand over foot. Brookfield just signed a huge deal yesterday. Huge deal for small nuclear reactors. Who's profiting? Who's invested in Westinghouse and all of these other companies that are part of this huge deal?
Well, as we've discussed, Brian, over the last couple of years, the automakers really went full bore in putting in capacity for EVs. And they really didn't have a good discussion on the consumer in terms of what it was going to take to get the consumer to buy these EV products. And you've seen a lot of capacity go in, and what you've seen over the last 18 months or so is some of these bets went wrong. You saw GM's announcement today of impairment of about $1.6 billion. They noted that there could be more to come, and I think there are. So you're going to have a lot of stranded capital. Ford had last year, they took a $1.9 billion charge for canceling an EV program up in Canada. And so this is clearly an issue where the market didn't develop the way the automakers thought. And a lot of them, particularly in GM's case, they boasted that they had the full lineup of EVs. And what was an advantage, at least they thought at the time, has now probably turned into a bit of an albatross as the market take-up of EVs is going to be lower, at least in the near to medium term, than they planned for.
Listen, you and I talked about it 2 years ago ad nauseum. We probably both took a lot of heck for it, but we've been right on the mark, Mark. All right, story number two. It's a little wonky. Call us WBI, wonky but important. There have been two big bankruptcies in auto parts, a company called Tricolor, a company called First Brands. Leslie Picker just referenced them in the Citigroup CFO interview. First Brands in particular is really rocking parts of Wall Street. I don't want to get into the whole story, but how big of a deal is this?
Well, I don't think it's a huge deal as it pertains to the auto industry. I do think it's a big deal when you look at credit and how credit's been taken out over the last couple of years. I mean, in the First Brands case, this is really about a story of over-leveraged growth, opaque financing, refinancing, and it seems like governance and accounting issues. And, when you have a company that depends heavily for growth on acquiring companies, plus layers of debt, plus off-balance sheet, complex financing, it's very sensitive to things like changes in credit conditions, interest rates, consumer, and you've had disruptions in each one of those. And, this is a case where they took out a lot of debt. And Brian, as you know, when a company, part of their financing strategy, core to their financing strategy is factoring receivables, that's a really big red flag because, a company normally doesn't want to give up any portion of their receivables and they'll collect them themselves. But I think in this case, and we'll see how it plays out, I think the growth of private credit is playing out here, and I think that is what's getting a lot of attention on Wall Street, because private credit doesn't necessarily have the same kind of stringent requirements that bank debt does. And so I think this may be a little bit of the canary in the coal mine as you look at over-leveraged companies that are having margin and growth pressures.
The First Brand story just gets weird.
Now, throw in government subsidies, people. These companies over-leveraged themselves, and they were allowed to by banks because they were backed up by government subsidies. The worst country was Canada. We put billions upon billions of dollars federally, and then you had Dougie throw billions and billions more of their money. That's Ontario taxpayers. And now all of this, because Trump has stopped the socialist forced vehicle mandate, reality is kicking in. Ontario, you have got big problems.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, workers started gathering here around 9 this morning. Brampton's Stellantis plant was built in 1986 and has produced vehicles like the Dodge Intrepid and Dodge Charger, but the future of the plant is looking very, very bleak.
This plant supports an entire community. It's not just the members here. We keep talking about 3,000 jobs. The reality is that the impact, the broader economy, is more like 15 or 20,000 jobs. There's a lot of people that have been working here for generations and generations.
It's a desperate time, and it would be beneficial for the general public to understand that there's many spin-off jobs will be lost that are associated with jobs that come from this plant and jobs in the greater community. So we're looking for the support of the community. We're looking to have the government step up with some more support. We're hearing a lot of words from the government, but we're not seeing a lot of action.
As you've heard, workers here are very, very upset about what they're calling a betrayal. Unifor members had ratified a new collective agreement with the manufacturer in 2023 based on the company's promise to retool the Brampton plant to produce the Jeep Compass. That production was supposed to start on the fourth quarter of 2025 with about 3,000 workers laid off in the interim. But the retooling was paused this past February as the trade war began to escalate. And 2 weeks ago, Stellantis announced that production of the Jeep Compass would be moved from the Brampton plant to Illinois. And what that means is that these workers may never return to work. Meanwhile, under continued pressure from Donald Trump, other automakers are also moving auto production to the U.S. GM ended production of an electric parcel van in Ingersoll, Ontario last week, which impacted more than 1,000 jobs, with the company also saying it would be cutting a shift at its Oshawa plant in January. Stellantis has said it plans to boost U.S.-based production of its vehicles over the next 4 years by 50%.
Now, let's just take a real, reality check. So you have the global cabal and the Laurentian elite come in, and knowing, because these people are out to make money, put in legislation that destroys Canada's most profitable resource sector, oil and gas. Because of it, we were all screaming, are you aware? It's not just 100,000 jobs. You are going to create hundreds of thousands of unemployed jobs. Oh, but don't worry. We're going to re-educate you. We're going to teach you all about windmills and solar energy and all good. In the meantime, the world's consumption was skyrocketing because everybody who knows understood that oil and gas ain't going anywhere. Then you have the government turn around and force through legislation and put in government subsidies to help build EVs and force these EVs down consumers' throats. This is socialism, people. Stop what people actually need. Stop what the free market has and promotes and pays for all the bills, for the majority of the bills, all of the services that Canada takes for granted. And in the meantime, take huge loans out on money we don't have to bankroll and force EVs down people's throats. We warned, we screamed, we begged, we tried everything but propaganda, lying to Canadians, propped up this whole EV nightmare that we're seeing happen today. You voted, Liberal, you voted for this to happen. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that it doesn't matter. They're Liberal card holders, third generation, blah, blah, blah. They don't care if the man had a little wee mustache and put his hand up. They would vote for him if he said he was a Liberal. But there's a lot of people out there, they're only voting Liberal because they're being lied to. This is the reality. Now, what is saving Canada right now? What is the revenue that's actually keeping Canada afloat? What is the revenue that has the capability to get us out of this crisis that we're in and spiraling down? It's the resource sector. And Carney, while he makes billions of dollars for his investors and hundreds of millions of dollars for himself, refuses to unleash Canada's potential. He doesn't care about you. The Laurentian elite don't care about you. Dougie doesn't care about you. It's all lies. Let's just keep listening to Dougie.
Back to that, dressing down that Pete Hoekstra gave David Patterson. Yeah. What does it say to you that the person who is ostensibly, baking in Canadian culture does not understand at this moment why you ran that Reagan ad and what it is that Ontarians are trying to achieve in our negotiations with the U.S.?
I guess the ambassador, he must understand it. He's been around for forever. When you have someone attacking your province, attacking your country, constantly saying it's a 51st state, trying to take our auto jobs down to the U.S., taking our manufacturing, life science jobs, trying to take our steel jobs, what do they expect me to do? Sit back and roll over like every other person in the world? I'm going to fight like I've never fought before. I said during the election I'm going to protect people, and I will use every tool in my toolbox to protect the people of Ontario and protect the people of Canada. Like, what does he expect? And the intention wasn't to go poke the president in the eye. My intention was to get a conversation going, wake up the Democrats a little bit down there. And my goodness, it woke them up all right. And they're still talking about it on CNN. But I saw a poll on CNN that Canada is way more popular than the president with the American people. We love Americans. I'll tell you, we don't love President Trump. I'll tell you that. And I think he was in the poll I saw on CNN is minus 60. I don't know, minus 60. I don't know how much lower you can get than minus 60. So why doesn't the president start being nice, play nice in the sandbox to his biggest customer in the entire world, and everything's hunky-dory. So let's get on with it.
Premier Jeffrey Globno, just backing up on that point in this confrontation, you made it sound like it's something that the ambassador has to apologize to your representative in Washington about, but really this was a dressing down. This was screaming, yelling, whatever it is. The reports are in front of a large audience about an ad, an innocuous ad that points out that Ronald Reagan supported free trade that you chose to run. Is this acceptable behavior for a diplomat?
Absolutely unacceptable. I've never heard anything about it. all I'm getting at is I'm not telling him. I'm suggesting that if you get hot-headed one day, call Dave up and say, I apologize, sorry, got a little heated. So that as simple as that. People get in disagreements. It's unbecoming of an ambassador. I've never heard of this in my entire life. But the ambassador's a different type of cat. He thinks I'm a different type of cat, but he's a different type of cat as well. So, Pete, do the right thing. Give the guy a call. Let's move on. Enough's enough.
Are you going to be contacting the ambassador?
No, I got a bet on with him that if the Jays win, he has to wear a Jays jersey in Ottawa, the most popular thing. Matter of fact, he'd be more popular if he wore a Jays jersey. And if the Jays lose, which they aren't going to lose, I got to wear an LA Dodgers jersey. So this is what I mean. Like, you want to call Dave Patterson up, which is an absolute champion for Ontario, and I back the guy at 1,000%. You want to shout and scream at him? Go ahead. Call me up. Shout and scream at me. I can go with the best of them, right? Bring it on. But I'm not into that. Just let's move on.
Here's the truth. The communists, China, quoted Reagan on tariffs, but full context shows he actually did align with Trump. Now, this ad, this article, this is old. This is weeks ago, months ago. China was already trying to do the same thing. And it kind of backfired on them as well. Why? Well, because they're the same. Reagan and Trump are almost identical in what their policies are, their actions are, right down to Reagan wanting, yes, to allow for himself to run a third term, which he got shut down. The same thing. Trump just got shut down like yesterday. He was hoping that he could try to change this so he could have a third term in order to complete the mission, which is make America great again. The media doesn't want you to know this. Like almost everything that Reagan did, Trump has been forced to do with a harder hand, because there has been how many decades gone by where once Reagan was out, the States was sold out. So he's just trying to do what Reagan did. Reagan seeks a cut in steel imports through accords. Hello? Yes. Who? Against Canada. China, who was at that time ramping up cheap steel. It doesn't end. These articles are all out there. Reagan defends his motorcycle tariffs and steel quotas. There's even an article saying how Reagan's tariffs are a temper tantrum. Like, hello, Canada. Shut off the propaganda. Like, share, and subscribe to independent media. I'm giving you the links. They're all there. You can scroll right through these archives. Punch in everything that Trump's doing, but put Reagan in front of it, and you will find the article. Reagan did it. Reagan loved tariffs, people. He loved them. If he couldn't do it through trade negotiation, he would try to do it through any other signed deal, and the last form that he had was tariffs, and he used them.
Back to the Reagan ad. How do you know the Prime Minister and his Chief of Staff saw this particular ad before you moved ahead with airing it?
I was with them.
There you go.
Everyone's obsessed. Just think of that, 11.4 billion impressions or views.
11.4
that means every
billion
leader in
impressions.
the world saw it, and it's just real. It's a real ad. It worked. It was the most successful ad ever. I don't know any ad that's ever hit 11.4 billion in every single country in the world. Their leadership and population was watching it.
They're laughing at the ad. It has gone viral because they are laughing at the ad. Not everybody. There's the leftists around the world who are jumping on this and they're like, oh no, Reagan, you're so against tariffs. When in reality, he's just like Trump. Reagan and Trump are birds of a feather, people. This is all lies. He's making it seem as though this ad was done. It's this great thing. The summit proved the point. They're walking away from Canada once again. Not a lot of them came back after the Liberals were re-elected to begin with. But the few that were like, okay, well, we're going to give this a shot again, see this, and they're like, are you kidding me? Because in their own countries, a lot of them had tariffs from Reagan on them. They know the truth of it. Hello, Japan people, where Trump just signed a huge deal? That's the whole ad? That was only one of the countries that was tariffed. It's all lies.
Because it's real. Ronald Reagan is telling the truth. A tariff on Canada is a tax on American people. And I could run 10 more different ads, which I'm not going to, with Ronald Reagan saying different speeches about how tariffs are terrible. Well, you see it down in the U.S. now. They're losing manufacturing jobs for 5 months in a row, down 78,000. Inflation's hitting. It doesn't work. So let's sign a deal, and a fair deal, and we'll move forward, and everyone's going to be happy.
He's been going down there. He's been on CNN and MSNBC, all of the very far left agencies, media, legacy media outlets, who do this, who promote all lies. It's all bull crap. The ones that have hardly any viewers, but just enough to swing votes and keep those people who they have brainwashed under their thumbs. This is all bull crap, people. This is Trudeau 2.0. In fact, he's as liberal as it gets.
Did they express concern when you were with them?
I'm not going to talk about our private conversation at all. I told them that we're running it. I'm going to cut it off on Monday, and that's it. I think it was it was the right thing to do. This stirred a conversation like I've never seen before.
That concludes our media questions.
Well, thank you, again. Yes. Yeah. God bless the Bank of Canada. Oh my goodness, just keep cutting those rates. People can afford homes. You heard the great news about us cutting the HST. I want to thank the federal government for partnering with us on that. And just that's amazing. We're going in the right direction.
They're forced to cut the rate because we are in such bad shape. Trump's minor. Trump is he's just the straw that broke the camel's back. It's the Liberal Party that has destroyed our nation. Ran by Carney, and now he's out of the shadows, and he's running the show. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Now, let's expose a little bit about Dougie. Now, I have an article on here. I was working on this, kind of to expose the reality of this ad. But I'm going to leave it to Mario Zelaya, who I have the utmost respect for. This guy does due diligence. He is a great journalist. I mean, it's not even his field. Like, the guy does construction and some other things. I think he made his big money off of the failures of the Liberal government, doing dead bolts, bulletproofing glass, and all of these different things because he saw the demise of Canada, and he's like, well, I'm going to help people out and I can make a profit doing it. But this guy researches. So if you don't know who he is, I urge you, again, I'll post his X link below. He's fabulous. He's absolutely fabulous. Now, I don't watch him all the time. I'm way too busy, but this one here came up on my feed, and I was like listening to it literally while I was discovering everything that he was showing, but he found even more. Listen carefully to what he has to say.
If I could call any video I've ever made a Mona Lisa, this one might be the Mona Lisa of my investigations. Extremely controversial Ronald Reagan ad campaign that resulted in all trade negotiations being halted, because it was approved by Doug Ford and viewed by Mark Carney, was produced by a firm with ties to Doug Ford's PC party. Company is called Creative Currency. 2022, they received $168,000, creating the Get It Done slogan. In 2025, they played a much larger role. They received $1.7 million from the Ontario PC government. Neither the Premier's office nor Creative Currency responded to Global News questions on how much the commercial actually cost, despite the $75 million budget to advertise it. This is where it gets good. This is Corey Tanaik. He's been in charge of Doug Ford's campaigns. He also owns and runs a company called Rubicon Strategy, a leading public affairs and government relations firm. Rubicon was registered to lobby for 16 organizations that received SDF grants. This lobbying firm, Rubicon Strategy, owned by the Premier's campaign manager, got more than $100 million in grant money. An article in the Toronto Star is published that said that Corey's blunt style has ruffled the feathers of some cabinet ministers who have privately complained to the Star that he has too much power. Now this is where it gets interesting. Corey married Nicole Alouette. Sorry if I butchered that name. Cole has a sister named Ali Alouette Matthews. Remember that last name, Matthews. She recently tweeted, "Thank you to @FindCurrency for hosting the live taping of our podcast tonight." You click on that, you get Creative Currency, the same company that created the Ronald Reagan ad campaign. You scroll down, it says, "Our President Dennis Matthews." This is Dennis Matthews. Let me spell it out. Corey Tanaik, who owns Rubicon Strategy, who is also Doug Ford's campaign manager, he's the brother-in-law of Dennis Matthews, who owns that agency that produced the ad. Not only that, if you Google search Allison Matthews, you'll see that she's been named as a member of the board of the LCBO, an entity controlled by Doug Ford's government. Now let me ask you this. When you see all this, what's the first word that comes to mind? What do you guys think of all this?
Yeah. And now here is an even bigger kicker. This is the ad that the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, put out. And it is right beside the ad that the, I guess, Communist Conservative Party. You want to see how deep China is embedded into Canada?
Someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports. It looks like they're doing the patriotic...
The ad on the left is the one China ran. The ad on the right is the one Canada, well, Ontario ran. Canada ran it. Carney knew.
...thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. The triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports. It looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. The triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs.
It's the same ad, people. Chinese embassy in the U.S. Canada, you need to like, share. You need to get it out there. People need to see this. You were ran. We might as well be run by the Communist Party, because that's who we have in power. They're playing the same playbook. They use the same thing. How many MPs were put into power with Chinese influence? Like, it's so deep. The drug cartels, the real estate, Carney's secret visits going to China while he was supposedly, he was, because media even said it, while he was helping the Liberal Party, he's secretly going to China, signing secretive deals, and then we find out that some of the property that they bought was like underwater, and Canada, you're being screwed over. You're being screwed over. Donald Trump, for those who are asking, we didn't come to South Korea to see Canada. Yeah. Now, let's just take a little reminder down memory lane here, people.
Do you know where Justin Trudeau is this weekend? That's right. He's just flown into New Delhi for the G20 summit. Justin Trudeau, India. What could possibly go wrong, right? The G20, 19 other governments looking to him to learn what not to do, keen to avoid his mistakes. Because of the 20 heads of government there, he is the one who inherited a golden economic legacy that the other 19 could only have dreamt of. He's the guy who won the lottery and then threw away the ticket, right? Who could have had a richer bequest than the one left behind by Stephen Harper? A budget surplus, falling taxes, falling crime, secure borders, sound money. He had it all, and look at what he did with it.
This is how we're seen around the world, people. Carney hasn't changed anything. He's revived exactly what we've been living in. Canada is going right down the tube. In the meantime, Brookfield signs a $80 billion deal. And now their stocks were already going up. The second trade talks were canceled, and then this hits, and now the ticker's going through the roof. Who's making money? Are you? No, you're not. In the meantime, Northern Ontario is picketing right now. They've got signs out all over the place. They do not want the nuclear waste. If nuclear, I agree in nuclear energy. To be honest, when it comes to clean, it's pretty clean, right? Everybody's, it's clean, it's clean. Then why don't you bury the nuclear waste in your backyard? Why don't we drill a hole downtown Toronto? Why not? They've got great rock out there. It's still part of the Canadian Shield. And why don't we bury the nuclear waste in their backyard? Why have you got to go and take it up to the most pristine part of Canada, in Northwest Ontario, after paying off politicians, using your propaganda, and pretty much just forcing it down all of those incredible people who live up there? Because media can hide it. But if that hole was being drilled in downtown Toronto, do you really think Toronto would be going, yay, nuclear power? You're all being played. You're all being played. That's my backyard up there too. I do not want that nuclear waste some 100 miles south of me, down, I don't care, in 900 feet deep, and it's supposed to, and there's brag about these canisters and all. I don't care. I don't care. I don't have power at my property. I make it myself. Yeah. Why do I and all of those other people out there who live on the land, who are as green could possibly be? You don't get any more environmentally friendly than the people that live up in the bush. And you're forcing that down our throats while media isn't telling you about it. And now they're going to start building all these those small nuclear reactors. Who's profiting off of this? Who's making the money? How many people run them? There's no job creation there, people. Carney's making money. This is all insanity. Drill a hole, put it in downtown Toronto if you want nuclear so bad, and you're the ones who need it because you keep voting in this green, insane government screaming how carbon's bad while I'm burning natural gas in my greenhouses so the plants can do good and thrive. Utter insanity. utter insanity, people. Now, here's the truth of the Bank of Canada. Yes, they cut the rates. But the reality is, what exactly is the reasoning behind it? And how great is Canada doing? I'm going to attach the full clip. By the way, I'm just using this short because it was edited very well so that you get the gist of all of the, political two-step. You know, ooh, I like to do the little sidestep. Yeah, here's the reality.
Today, the bank lowered the policy interest rate a further 25 basis points, bringing it to 2.25%. This was our second straight cut and reflects ongoing weakness in the economy and contained inflationary pressures. U.S. tariffs and trade uncertainty have weakened the Canadian economy. We expect very modest growth through the rest of the year, with some pickup in 2026. To support the economy through this period of adjustment, we have lowered our policy rate by 50 basis points over the last two meetings and by 100 basis points since the start of the year. The weakness we're seeing in the Canadian economy is more than a cyclical downturn. It's also a structural adjustment. The U.S. trade conflict has diminished Canada's economic prospects. The structural damage caused by tariffs is reducing the productive capacity of the economy, and it's adding costs. It's now been more than 6 months since we have been living with U.S. tariffs. And while U.S. trade policy remains unpredictable, its impacts are becoming clearer. U.S. trade actions are having severe effects on targeted sectors, including autos, steel, aluminum, and lumber. The labor market is soft. Employment gains in September followed 2 months of sizable losses. Job losses have been concentrated in trade-sensitive sectors, and hiring has been weak across the economy. If the economy evolves roughly in line with the outlook in this monetary policy report, Governing Council sees the current policy rate at about the right level to keep inflation close to 2%, while helping the economy adjust through this period of structural change. If the outlook changes, we are prepared to respond. Canadian businesses and households are feeling the consequences of increased U.S. protectionism. Increased trade friction with the United States means our economy will work less efficiently with higher costs and less income. Monetary policy can help the economy adjust as long as inflation is well controlled, but it cannot restore the economy to its pre-tariff path. Above all, the Bank of Canada is focused on ensuring Canadians continue to have confidence in price stability through this period of global upheaval.
People, this is a puppet of the government. Now, you heard the truth, but you heard it with the sidestep. The reality is Canada was in trouble way before Trump. Like I said, Trump's the straw that broke the camel's back. The insanity of what's going on is crazy. And now add this to the problem. This guy is one of the people in Richmond who just had his land taken away. I'm going to play a small short of him, which you're going to find incredibly interesting. So he was just in a meeting with his mayor and a whole bunch of townspeople. And he's not getting any of his questions answered. And he's really PO'd. Now, I'm going to attach this. You can watch it in its entirety. I urge you to, because you get to see the ignorance and how this is all politics. This is what you get with appointed judges and a corrupt political system.
He doesn't have any answers. He knew what's going on. He sat there and enjoyed his $400,000 a year he makes. That's what it is. I'm bitter, yes. My tax dollars are at work right now. And who knows? I thought at least we're going to get a gift card out of this deal. We got nothing here tonight.
Gift card.
Oh, definitely. I'll be filing suit and stuff, right? I'll find out what my avenue is to go forward to protect my land. I've owned my land for more than enough years to know it's mine. I'm not giving it up without a fight.
What do you say to people who say this is about reconciliation? What does that mean to you?
No comment on that. I don't want to get started on that.
So this is just about land rights? Your fee simple rate?
It's what I paid for. That's what it's all about for me. I want to keep what I paid for. Or someone can buy me out.
Have you looked into what this means for reselling or getting a loan or anything like that, or is it all too soon?
I haven't looked into anything like that yet.
How long have you lived here?
1975. I grew up in Richmond. I elected that guy.
Do you have a mortgage on your property here in Richmond?
I do.
Have you spoken to your landlord?
I have.
And what have they told you?
They are not renewing it.
They are not renewing it.
Oh, do you worry about like the home price fluctuate based on the situation?
No.
Can you take us back to when you first found out? I'm assuming it was a letter or online.
It was a letter that came in the mailbox.
What was going through your head?
Just mixed emotions that I've been paying for the city for no reason at all. Right? I paid taxes, I bought the place, and now, lo and behold, I don't own my place. Not fair.
What did you make of what the lawyer said about Canada and the BC government not allowing government lawyers to argue extinguishment of Aboriginal title?
I think that's just a bunch of words. It meant nothing inside at all. Everyone had their own defense and stuff. If they were so adamant, they could have allowed the homeowners to know. We would have spoken up back then, not 2025.
So you think that the lawyers had a duty to care for the citizens of Richmond as much as they had a duty to care for the actual court processes they were all respecting at the time?
I believe they had a duty to let every person that was involved in it know about it.
So why do you think they didn't tell you earlier?
Politics?
Politics.
So I can blow it off as politics.
Thank you.
Kudos to this guy. Like, he cool as a cucumber. And he's absolutely right. Everybody was kept in the dark. And guess what? Now that this court case has gone through and they've stolen this land, they've literally ripped this land from people. This is just every single thing about this land, this entitlement that these Indigenous think that they deserve, it's insanity. I'm gonna just voice a little bit of an opinion here. So let me know how you think in the comments. But were they fishing in big ships with all of this modern technology and selling it to people around the world before others moved here? No, we weren't. We were taking what we needed and feeding our people. And were they hunting with these far superior type of rifles and the ability to use snowmobiles to get around and trucks? And is that an Indigenous invention? Did we invent that? No. Get with the program. If it was any other country, Portugal or whoever else, you literally would have been removed off the face of the planet. This has been probably one of the nicest, easygoing Canadian kind of, call it a takeover, but it's migration that happened. That's had some bumps in it thanks to politics and elitism. Don't blame this generation. Don't blame anybody alive today because they had nothing to do with it. Move on. This has to end. These people are going to lose their homes. They've already lost all their money because their houses aren't worth crap. Nobody's going to buy it when you can never own it. They've just ripped hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars out of thousands upon thousands of people's pockets. Their entire life has been completely destroyed. And now, another court case has just been launched in Western Quebec. Yeah. This is just getting started. The judge that passed this should be removed. We're in big people. We're in trouble here. Our system is, because this has been going on and on and on and on. Propaganda is the main reason, because they do the sidestep and they ready, fetch the ball. How come this isn't on national television? This should be being talked about right now. Kind of like I said yesterday. Instead of showing the people that were lighting the fires, now they have to get away from it. And instead of showing Carney and his investments and all the rest of it, they focus down on Haiti. And then they blame this on climate change. In the meantime, they're hiding the truth of reality of what's really going on. Canada is in the midst of just this insane chaos. It's crumbling at every single level. Elbows up, everybody. Elbows up. This is what you get. Propaganda is the main reason we're here today. Because there is no real journalists left. Well, there are. It's us. It's all the independents. There's Juno and Rebel and who are all censored. Who are not allowed to go and actually ask politicians questions. Look at the politicians that do take questions from independents like Juno and Rebel and myself and NP, and there's a few others out there. Those are the politicians you need to vote for, because they're not afraid of real media. They're more afraid of propaganda, because they've seen what happened in how many different elections where the party is being destroyed by lies, fear, hate, and division. There are people out there that think Poilievre is a multimillionaire and he's making money off of politics. Yeah, when in actual effect, it's Carney. That's propaganda, the power of media. There's only one way to change it, people. You need to like, share, and subscribe. Until the next time, guys, I'm Alias Tagai. I hope you enjoyed the episode. You've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. Stay informed.